Yantaji, Dr. Melody Amponsa, Dr. Samuel Kwate, Dr. Samuel Amankwa, Dr. Beryl Altre, Dr. Salome Obusu Frimpong, Dr. Patience Jeffrey, Dr. Natasha Osei, Dr. Kojo Shafi, Dr. Achan Amobadi, and your host, Pastor Kojo Chubasi, onto the Hoodlyfe series as produced by Kofi and Kojo Chubasi. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to meet the 2019 North American Ghanaian Adventist Doctoral Class. Welcome into the show, Dr. Kofi Chubasi, Abigail Yantaji, Dr. Melody Amponsa, Dr. Samuel Kwate, Dr. Samuel Amankwa, Dr. Beryl Altre, Dr. Salome Obusu Frimpong, Dr. Patience Jeffrey, Dr. Natasha Osei, Dr. Kojo Shafi, Dr. Achan Amobadi, and your host, Pastor Kojo Chubasi, onto the Hoodlyfe series as produced by Kofi and Kojo Chubasi. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to meet the 2019 North American Ghanaian Adventist Doctoral Class. Welcome into the show, Dr. Kofi Chubasi, Abigail Yantaji, Dr. Melody Amponsa, Dr. Samuel Kwate, Dr. Samuel Amankwa, Dr. Beryl Altre, Dr. Salome Obusu Frimpong, Dr. Patience Jeffrey, Dr. Natasha Osei, Dr. Kojo Shafi, Dr. Achan Amobadi, and your host, Pastor Kojo Chubasi, onto the Hoodlyfe series as produced by Kofi and Kojo Chubasi. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to meet the 2019 North American Ghanaian Adventist Doctoral Class. Welcome into the show, Dr. Kofi Chubasi, Abigail Yantaji, Dr. Melody Amponsa, Dr. Samuel Kwate, Dr. Samuel Amankwa, Dr. Beryl Altre, Dr. Salome Obusu Frimpong, Dr. Patience Jeffrey, Dr. Natasha Osei, Dr. Kojo Shafi, Dr. Achan Amobadi, and your host, Pastor Kojo Chubasi, onto the Hoodlyfe series as produced by Kofi and Kojo Chubasi. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to meet the 2019 North American Ghanaian Adventist Doctoral Class. Welcome into the show, Dr. Kofi Chubasi, Abigail Yantaji, Dr. Melody Amponsa, Dr. Samuel Kwate, Dr. Samuel Amankwa, Dr. Beryl Altre, Dr. Salome Obusu Frimpong, Dr. Patience Jeffrey, Dr. Natasha Osei, Dr. Kojo Shafi, Dr. Achan Amobadi, and your host, Pastor Kojo Chubasi, onto the Hoodlyfe series as produced by Kofi and Kojo Chubasi. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to meet the 2019 North American Ghanaian Adventist Doctoral Class. Welcome into the show, Dr. Kofi Chubasi, Abigail Yantaji, Dr. Melody Amponsa, Dr. Samuel Kwate, Dr. Samuel Amankwa, Dr. Beryl Altre, Dr. Salome Obusu Frimpong, Dr. Patience Jeffrey, Dr. Natasha Osei, Dr. Kojo Shafi, Dr. Achan Amobadi, and your host, Pastor Kojo Chubasi, onto the Hoodlyfe series as produced by Kofi and Kojo Chubasi. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to meet the 2019 North American Ghanaian Adventist Doctoral Class. Welcome into the show, Dr. Kofi Chubasi, Abigail Yantaji, Dr. Melody Amponsa, Dr. Samuel Kwate, Dr. Samuel Amankwa, Dr. Beryl Altre, Dr. Salome Obusu Frimpong, Dr. Patience Jeffrey, Dr. Natasha Osei, Dr. Kojo Shafi, Dr. Achan Amobadi, and your host, Pastor Kojo Chubasi, onto the Hoodlyfe series as produced by Kofi and Kojo Shumasi. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to meet the 2019 North American Ghanaian Adventure.
Whoa, for the last time.
My goodness.
Welcome to the Hood.
Life. Yes.
Life, that is. Your two favorite co-hosts. We are better be back
in the his side.
Yes.
I gotta put some Snoop in there.
Yeah, Snoop is all right, man. Well, this is Kofi, this is our final day.
Dog, I can't believe it, man.
Of the Hoodlyfe, man.
I can't believe it, man.
I mean, can you believe that?
5 nights.
Like, we have been promoting this event for 5 months.
Right.
And you know, that's how life works. You put so much preparation.
Exactly.
And the time of execution is like so much smaller.
So much small. Because we started this whole process in May. And you know, it really just started. You know, I think I just come back from New York after graduating, and I realized the amount of doctors graduating. I was like, if we do not celebrate this,
it's very true.
We're gonna let this moment go by. Because this is one of the biggest classes ever.
So now, Dr. Kofi, I want you to talk. First of all, I want you to talk to me.
Man,
what you eat today, man? You know, you had a good dinner.
You know what? I had Jimmy John's. You know, coming from New York, I never heard of Jimmy John's, but Jimmy John's is a ripoff of New York delis, like the New York heroes.
For real.
So I'm like, man, they stole these people's ideas.
What did everything on this place from the NYC, man?
On the NYC.
Oh, that's good. Man, my dinner was pitiful.
Yeah, man. What you had, man? Fufu or what?
Yo, I've been crying, man.
Oh man,
we just pulling your legs, man. But Dr. Kobe, I did have a real question.
Go ahead.
You know, some people,
right on.
You know, this highlights the class of 2019.
Exactly. Legendary. You gotta say because I'm a part of this class.
You know, why not? How come this wasn't done for the class of 2018, the class of 2017?
Right.
Or how come some, other professionals, older professionals with degrees in these same areas are not featured? In this Hoodlyfe.
Well, all the dime pieces were featured in the 2019 class.
There you have it.
all the 5 women were featured. Man, don't kill me, y'all. Don't kill me on no comments, man. I forgot this is a family show.
Kids are watching,
man.
Educational
I can't keep this rated R,
Just think of yourself like Mr. Rogers, man.
Right. Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Now, the key thing was this, man. Honestly, the vision wasn't there in 2018, 2017, 2015. But the key thing about this is that when I just saw this vision, I acted up upon it. And that's the whole thing about life. A lot of times people don't have vision or people don't have the execution to make that vision a reality. So literally when I saw this, I was like, let's make this happen, because out of the other years, people have just let those go by. But a critical thing is this, man. Other people could have done it in 2018. But we had some people in our, in our community that graduated, but they didn't do it.
And here's my biggest point, though.
Right.
No one commissioned you to come up with this idea. No one commissioned us to do it. I think the point we're trying to make here is that this was self-initiated.
Self-initiated.
Right? And the point we're trying to make to other people is that if you would like to do something of this nature, you're totally free to do so.
Exactly.
You don't have to wait for anyone to organize a program. You yourself can organize a program that you feel like is needed within our community. And we hope, and that's the point we're trying to drive at, we hope that in doing this Hoodlyfe, we would inspire you and we will inspire others who say, hey, maybe people with businesses need to be highlighted.
Exactly.
Maybe previous classes need to be highlighted. Maybe older professionals need to be highlighted. And maybe you will also get inspired to do the same. I mean, is that all right?
Yeah, that's all right. And, we did the 2019 class because obviously this is a fresh new class. This is a class that we can definitely limit it to size because, if you do the top 40 working people, something like that, that's so subjective. You know what I'm saying? Which criteria are you going to? I'm not saying it's not possible, but with this, doctoral thing, simply if you have a doctorate and you graduate in 2019, we're featuring you. So the vision came this year, and the whole thing, execution, baby, execution.
Well, here's my question to you, man. What have you been, what have been your biggest takeaways so far as you've been learning, hearing the different stories?
Man, I think the biggest takeaway, number one, is everybody's grind.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I come from New York, so we grind all day, every day. That's why we're doing this, because we're grinders from New York. But one thing I realized about is everybody's grind. And if you've listened to all the interviews, everybody had a certain kind of focus and determination, and everybody had a struggle, but didn't have an excuse for their struggle. And that's the key thing, man. That's the bar I really want to break down. A lot of people make an excuse for not achieving what they're supposed to achieve.
Oh, but they're married though.
See, that's a lot of times when people try to stipulate.
But they have a baby though.
But they have a baby though. You know what I'm saying?
Someone in the family got sick though.
I can't, I didn't have the finances or things of that nature.
And I'm not trying to minimize those things.
Well, we are trying to minimize those things.
No, what I'm trying to say is that the people in this journey face those different obstacles. Exactly. But they told themselves that despite the obstacles, they're going to keep pressing forward. Yeah.
And we had different personalities. On the first night, we had an international student, and I know so many international students that come here and just forget about.
That's what I'm an international student, so I can't move forward.
But he persevered towards that. We had a Canadian that came up about and did it, man. He's a doctor. Then the second night, we had a lawyer. That's really rare in our community. I'm one of the finest lawyers in our community. Can I brag about myself?
You just started. I don't know if you even have a track record. You don't have a track record.
But so we had different people, and even the way some people study. We had a 4.0 student.
Yeah, we did definitely. Well, before we bring out our guest, tell us a little bit about yourself. You got the doctorate. What was one major struggle you had, as you tried to get your doctorate?
Man, the key thing was I didn't think I was as brilliant as my other peers, man.
Okay.
I'll never forget the first day. Law school is famous for the Socratic method. Never forget the first day.
And that Socratic method really scarred you, man.
Oh,
because that's all you talk about.
I say, hey, for me, it's like I'm a public speaker, so nothing like that should have ever scarred me. But I'll never forget, I called you and you was like, man, you got to do this, man. I was like, I'm about to quit, yo. I cannot do this, man. Right. But after the first day, you kind of get over that. But that was a key struggle. Another key struggle was just from where I came from. I came from New York City. I didn't go to the best high school. You know what I'm saying? I was in what you call.
You sure didn't go to the best high school. That's all right.
Yeah. I went to Channel though, but in Channel, and that was the thing, man. I was always in part of those select, smart groups of the school, just like how you were back in middle school and high school as well. But
I went to a good school though. Yeah, come on. Come on, don't do that. I went to a good school. My school and your school couldn't even be compared.
You was fortunate, man. You see, your school was a brand. I didn't get a chance for that school, man. Right. But the whole thing was that I was in a limited space, and I thought I was the smartest, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm not trying to diss the peers that I went with, but, most of them just didn't have the same kind of experience I had. So when I went out there, man, it was a real struggle because I went out to a place where people were 10 times smart. I thought I was smart. I did AP, I finished my courses in middle school early and all these different things. But the whole thing was that when I went out there, I learned that, man, it's a whole different world. And as they say, man, the land of the blind, the one-eyed man's king. Your best somewhere could be average somewhere else. And I was good in my high school, but I was average somewhere else. So those things, man, really took me back. But God is so good. I succeeded now. Yeah. You could put a DR in front of my name, baby.
Hey, man, don't disrespect the DR. Real quick, before we bring our guest on, I know we're talking a little bit long before we bring our guest on today.
It's the finale.
It's the final show, so we just want to cover a few things. Right. What's the future of Hoodlyfe? You know what I'm saying? What's the future of Hoodlyfe? Where is Hoodlyfe going? For those who are tuned in.
Man, Hoodlyfe, we're really going to expand this thing. I really cannot say how far this is going to go because I haven't really thought of it. I'm right now caught in this legendary historic moment. This is a historic moment right here. I'm really caught in this moment. So I really can't say where it's going to go, but I will tell you all tonight, and I'm letting you all know that this is not going to be the last time we're doing this kind of show. Yeah. Man. We really want to highlight those in our community and bring them together.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
How do you see it, man? How do you see the future?
Yeah, man, kind of like what I was talking about beforehand, I see us being able to expand outside of just the doctorates itself.
Exactly.
I see us being able to highlight so many different, for me, in my life, this is what I love. I love the intersection between interesting research and interesting stories. And to me, that's a sweet spot.
Slow it down.
That's a sweet spot in life.
Right.
And that's one thing I love. I love to highlight people's stories. And so, as more and more we can do this, I think that would be awesome. Because when you highlight people's stories, that's an opportunity for learning. Exactly. And like what Dr. Champong said the other day, when you stop learning, you stop living.
Ooh,
so
man, I'm telling you, and our people have just been dropping bars, man. And, the key thing is this, man. We've also done other things of this kind of nature.
But, where I'm even thinking about the most, one thing I noticed between all of the doctoral candidates, that each person said they wanted to go back home to Ghana and do something.
Exactly.
And, I'm envisioning a summit, man, where we can all kind of get together and say, okay, we're all thinking about doing something in Ghana. We're Ghanaian, we're young adults, we're professionals in this country. Why can't we start to think of a strategy? And let's put egos aside. Let's put having our names on things aside and say, what's something we can do? Because everyone is trying to do it, but everyone wants to work in their little silos. And I'm saying, can we be able to come together? And so that's probably a vision that I'm kind of thinking at the moment.
I think a summit will be great, man. We can have people just come out there and present. We could all figure out the best way we can serve and get the president out there and people really behind the project.
Well, let me ask you a question. Before we bring out the guests, we're about to bring them out. What shout outs do you have for people who are along your journey?
Shout outs. Man, I need to first give a shout out to my man Omar Constanza. Man.
Constanza. Sing another stanza. Sing another stanza. Omar Constanza.
Constanza, man. That's my BFF, man, from Cali, San Diego, man. He's the man who brought me out to Cali for the first time, man.
Any other shout outs?
Shout outs to my mom. Definitely. I know my mom is watching.
Watching right now.
My pops, who really set the standard for us to achieve the best in our fields and also gain so we have 2 doctors in the family now. And then I got to shout out my sister Afia, the future doctor, right now she's busting it down at Oakwood,
killing it.
And then I got to get up to the co-host himself, man. I always say this, man. You can partner up with different people, but you can't always get the same results. You know what I'm saying? It all really depends who you partner up with. And I'm glad that I did this with you, man. And my boy Elton, man, Elton Narcissus, man, that's one of my good friends. So,
man, thanks for
and the SBE crew, Mills, Bright, all the guys that Victor, Isaac, all the guys, we grew up with, man.
All right, sounds good. Well, it's time to bring our guests out. I know you're anxiously waiting for them. Sorry, it's the finale, so we had to take time to do this. But we're about to bring our first guest. The first guest, Dr. Kofi. This girl is your classic city girl from the city that never sleeps. Beep, beep. That's the sound that you hear from her Claremont Parkway Street.
Oh, man, you giving her address.
Oh, man. Ooh, one of her sisters said only greatness comes from Claremont. I said, my God. Oh, man, this first guest has lived up to that hype of greatness after finishing high school at the Blue Mountain Academy in Pennsylvania.
She even go to school in New York.
She even go to school in New York.
Classic,
man. This person did a little dabble in my neck of the woods at Oakwood University.
Oakwood alumnus.
Yes, y'all. And she completed her bachelor's in dental hygiene at Loma Linda University. But she got back to her HBCU roots as she went to the Howard University. And there she graduated with her DDS, Doctor of Dentistry, and is currently at a residency at the prestigious Ivy League University. UPenn, please, at this time, welcome to the Hoodlyfe, Dr. Owusu. Dr. Salome Owusu, come in.
What an intro.
A very elaborate introduction. Thank you.
Oh, well, you should just hire me as like a promoter of yours. Wherever you go, I got
you. Yeah.
How you doing this evening?
Doing well. I'm doing well.
Oh, man, sounds good. We're very excited to have you in the Hoodlyfe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Definitely, man. We know Salome for a really long time, Dr. Owusu for a really long time. And, but the thing about Dr. Owusu is that, I never expected anything less. It's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing. I never expected anything less. I always felt like, this would be her.
Yeah.
Dr. Owusu, did you feel that about yourself? Like, did you ever failing? Like, never.
I mean, failure is inevitable, but I mean, I have good examples ahead of me, so I didn't have the option to fail. So.
My Lord. No option. That's tough, man. What?
Everyone has had the option. She said,
no
option. Sounds good.
Yeah. But she was always about her business.
Yeah, that's what I remember. I remember her being always about her business. Man. And so the fact that she's achieving these amazing things, I mean, it's very amazing. Yeah. Well, we're going to hear your story really soon, but at this time, we want to bring out our second guest as well, right? And so let's do that, man. You know, they say the East Coast is beast mode, but some people argue that the West Coast is the best coast. I don't know.
But, I went to school out there, so I can't disagree.
Okay, let's say the West Coast is the best coast. Well, our next guest comes from the poster state of the West Side.
That's right.
Comes from California. She was raised alongside the curvaceous slopes of that amazing place called Loma Linda.
Adventist town.
Yes, sir. I don't know if she's a vegetarian or not, though. She defied the cultural status quo when she decided to major in psychology. And after completing her bachelor's degree at PUC, she took no breaks and went straight to Biola University. There, she majored in clinical psychology and has come out with her doctorate in clinical psychology.
Now you gotta say PhD.
Woo, sorry. Her PhD in clinical psychology. Please grace the Hoodlyfe, Dr. Melody Amponsah.
Hello.
All right.
Came all soft.
They all soft, man.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Hey, everyone has a different swag.
That's why everybody got a different swag. That's that Cali swag.
That's the energy, I'm sorry.
That's the, Cali people are always laid back. Would you describe yourself as a laid back person?
Very much so, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. It's like Cali is just everyone kind of takes it easy.
Right.
Everyone just does surfing and like. Am I right or wrong?
Swag different, man.
Well, Dr. Amponsah, thank you for being on our show tonight.
Sure.
No, thank you for having me. It's a great opportunity.
All right, awesome. And we're getting ready to hear your stories, and I'm super excited for you.
Super excited, man.
Yeah, well, let's start with our classic city girl, Dr. Wusu. You know what I'm saying?
My hometown, man.
It's a special connection.
Yeah, special connection.
And thank God she never moved to New Jersey. I'm joking.
Hey, we ain't trying to play.
We ain't trying to play New Jersey. But Dr. Wusu, ever since I was a teenager and I've known you, you've always struck me as a confident person, not cocky, confident, not cocky.
Right. Well, you can be cocky too.
I ain't saying that about you. Confident person.
I'm talking about myself.
Yeah, I think so. You've always struck me as a self-assured person. Like what you even said. You said, failure was never even an option. My question to you is that, where does that come from? Does that come from your family? Does that come from your environment? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, you guys know my sister, so everyone is doing their thing. Everyone has multiple degrees. So if I'm the last born and I'm at home watching this, then I have no choice but to, be confident and, achieve highest of the highest.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I definitely hear you. I mean, do you feel like growing up in New York City also kind of shaped this sort of level of confidence and drive that you had?
I mean, like I was talking with you earlier, like when you're from New York, everyone's on a mission. So when you're walking in the streets, no one's paying attention to what you got going on. Everyone's focused on where they got to go to that on that day and how they're going to do it. And that's just what they're focused on. So being from New York kind of gives you that drive to like be a go-getter.
She's so right, because, one time I went to a place called Gainesville, Alabama. Right. Okay. Now it was a place called Sawyerville County.
I never heard of that place.
You don't need to hear about that place. When I was walking on the streets, everyone had enough time to say, hi, how are you doing?
Not in New York.
Well, you walk into Manhattan, everyone is laser focused. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I totally get it.
And I appreciate that about New Yorkers. You know what I'm saying? I get a lot of flack, for being a New Yorker because people can't handle my confidence. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, man, New Yorkers are all, I used to know a guy, he used to come and sell candy every single day.
Man, hustlers.
Hustlers, man.
Well, Dr. Wusu, talk to us. You mentioned your sisters and stuff like that. As you reflect back on your journey, where you traveled from, how important was it to have examples of strong, successful Black women? You know what I mean? How critical is that?
I mean, it's very important because a lot of time you don't see Black women in high places. So for me, I was fortunate enough to have my actual sisters doing things and setting the bar high and just setting examples for me. So, I mean, I was blessed in that regard to have my sisters to go to, and I can learn from their mistakes, of course. So as they were doing things wrong and right, I'm like, taking mental notes. So I'm like, okay, when I get to this stage, this is what's required of me. And, this is how I have to go about it. So I was lucky in that regard.
Did you ever feel like they were hard on you?
I never felt like they were hard on me in terms of like getting my education, because it was just one of those things where we grew up knowing that this is what we had to do. So I never really, it was more so of like support, like, can't stop. You just have to keep pushing forward. So it was more a lot of motivation more than like being hard on me. Yeah.
I like that because, for the families who are watching us and they have siblings, you push me. Right. You push me in tremendous ways. Man. I'm honored. I mean, you really do. You push me to be more creative. You push me to be more innovative. And I hope I push you in certain ways as well.
Nah, you didn't push me.
You see, that you put me lying on national TV. God doesn't like that, man. God does not like that. Right. But I'm sure it's symbiotic. And I think, a lot of times I hear a lot of sibling rivalries and siblings not liking each other and siblings, not talking to each other. And I think that we're better together.
Yeah. And you make that point because coming from your side, I know your sister's pretty good, and just having successful people around, especially in your nuclear family, speaks a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Very important. Yeah. Now, Dr. Owusu, you're kind of like me, in a way. You began to, you didn't realize we'll relate in that sort of way. She's looking like, I ain't no pastor. What you mean? We kind of like me. But you kind of, in high school, you started to kind of, at least a little bit start to, figure out that, perhaps dentistry is something that you're going to try and dabble in. Can you talk to us a little bit about that whole process? I know it didn't start off exactly that way, but then, of course, around that route, it started to happen. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
So in high school, I didn't have any plans on doing dentistry. I knew I wanted to do something in the health field, and I wanted to do something business oriented. So in my head, I was like, to combine the two together, I would be like the CEO of a hospital or something like that. So those were my plans. I didn't do any research on it. It just sounded good and it just made sense to me. But then one day, my mom and my sister, her husband now, they went to his job, which is a dental office, and he was the dental hygienist there at the time. And as they seen other women there doing this dental hygiene, they decided like, this is something that I think Salome can do. So they called me and was like, what do you think about becoming a dental hygienist? What Justice is doing, that's his name. So then I was just like, let me think about it. So I started doing research about it. Justice kind of took me under his wing and introduced me to the field of dentistry as a whole. So I basically grew to love dentistry. So it wasn't something that I always wanted to do. It just it was sprung upon me, and then I just gradually learned to love it.
As I'm listening to Dr. Owusu speak, it's the same pattern again, right? So have you noticed the pattern? At first, you think of something.
Exactly.
But then you realize you haven't really done no research on it.
Exactly.
And then after that, someone comes and helps and says, well, maybe this path, maybe that path, that kind of thing. What do you learn from that? That's what my question is, Dr.
Straight up, you always have to reach out to people who are doing what you want to be on the path for. You know what I'm saying? Because, coming back to Salome, I remember when I wanted to go to law school, I reached out to her sister, Dorcas. I was like, Dorcas, I want to be a greater lawyer than you. I know she said she's going to binge watch this over the weekend, but you know what I'm saying? I was like, I want to soak up everything from you, Dorcas. You know what I'm saying? When I'm studying for the bar, I'm like, Dorcas, what did you do? I'll just constantly call her because she's already been there before. Don't go into your career blindfolded.
And don't be so prideful that you can't take advice from someone, that you can't ask questions to someone. Right. And so I think that's really important. So, Dr. Owusu, you say to yourself, okay, perhaps dentistry is my route. And as soon as you say that to yourself, you end up, man, this is a very emotional moment for me. I'm about to cry. It's really, you end up, the tissue back. You end up at Oakwood. You end up at Oakwood University. Now,
the reason why Oakwood ain't all that.
Why
y'all Oakwood people like that, man? You a fake HBCU, man.
It's not a fake HBCU.
I don't shoot guns, man. You didn't even take it out. You end up at Oakwood University. Talk to us. So when you get to Oakwood, do you start off by majoring in dentistry or what?
So when I went to Oakwood, my plan was I'm going to go to dental school. So dental hygiene was the idea that brought up, like, I guess was the idea that led me to say I'm going to, follow the path of dentistry. So at Oakwood, I was biochemistry major. I wasn't really doing anything related to dental hygiene. I was focused on, getting the prerequisites for dental school. So that's what I was doing at Oakwood.
Okay, sounds good. So you were doing a little bit of biochemistry and stuff like that. And as you were doing this biochemistry, you didn't finish off at Oakwood though. And so explain to us that transition there.
So I was at Oakwood doing biochemistry. I was just doing the chemistry thing. I'm organic chemistry lab instructor. I'm like about to be the ultimate chemist at this point. And I was just like, I don't feel fulfilled. Like, I feel like I need to be doing something that at least I know when I graduate, I'll have a stable job at least, just in case, like a backup plan. Not saying that I'm expecting failure, but just as a backup plan, once I'm done, what am I going to do? Because biochemistry, I won't be able to have a good paying job at least to sustain myself. So I was just like, I need to explore this dental hygiene option. So that's where Loma Linda kind of came into play. I said, this was like a random spur of the moment, like decision that came upon me during like Christmas break. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I have to go do dental hygiene because this is what makes sense. So I told myself, like, God, I want to do this dental hygiene thing. I don't know if it's the right decision at this moment. So I kind of just applied only to Loma Linda because it's a Seventh-day Adventist school and it's a 4-year program. And at the time, not many dental hygiene programs would give you a bachelor's. So Loma Linda was, one of the better options. So I said, if I got into the program, then I'm going to go do the dental hygiene. If I don't get into the program, then I have to continue here and do the biochemistry and finish it at Oakwood.
Now, what I like about you is that you were very determined. You're kind of saying it very casually, but you were very determined to get into that dental
New York, man.
Yeah, well, you know what time it is. I mean, tell us some of the things that you did, because it's very competitive to get into dental school. So tell me some of the things that you did in order to make sure that, no, they saved a spot for you. And also, let's add this too. They were only taking, they don't take that many people, right? How many people?
Right. So the dental hygiene program had like less than 30 people. So I think it was like maybe 25 or 26 of us. It wasn't that many people. So like basically what happened was they did like a fair at Oakwood where a lot of the schools will come and try to recruit, students. And Loma Linda was one of the schools that came. So the person that came to recruit, I got his contact information. And, I would email him every now and then, like, I'm interested in Loma Linda and, can't wait to be part of the Loma Linda family, and then I just kept in touch at all times. Merry Christmas, Happy Thanksgiving, like, just to keep that communication there. And then also, like I was saying earlier to you, Kofi, Kojo. Yeah, so.
We got our names right. And they've known us for like 30 years. I'm joking. Go ahead.
Anyway, yeah, I was doing the biochemistry major, so none of my prerequisites would qualify for dental hygiene program. So I got in contact with the director and I explained to her my situation and, what my ultimate goals were. And she kind of worked with me. And I continued to, basically, I was pressing her. Like, I would always email her, how are you doing? This is what I'm doing. This is the grade that I got in this course. What do you think? It was kind of like a relationship that I had with her. So she was kind of guiding me. So I knew when I applied, she would remember me. She would remember, oh, this girl, she was very persistent. She genuinely really wants to be in this program. So that kind of helped me get into
that. I really appreciate the fact that you mentioned that, because it gives people, some sort of idea sometimes of the extra steps, of the extra lengths that they had to take in order to make sure they get to the goals that they want. Because, I know some people say, oh, I just applied one time and I gave up. Or, I just put the application, they I know some people who are just like this. They said they were going to call me and they never called me back. I'm like, are you out? I pick up the phone and call them every single hour on the hour until they have to notice you. And so I really appreciate that. Okay, so Dr. Russo, you get into Loma Linda and you finish with your dental hygienist degree, right? That's what you finished with Loma Linda.
Yeah.
So after you finish with your dental hygienist degree, do you go straight into dental school or you take some time off?
So I actually had a gap year or two. So it ended up being 2 years.
A year or two, how does that work?
It was really supposed to be a year, but because I was doing so many things during that time, I didn't notice that it was actually 2 years had gone by. So during the 2 years, because I stopped doing the biochemistry, so I still had some prerequisites that I need to fulfill for my dental school application. So I was working on those prerequisites, and then I was also working as a dental hygienist. And then at the same time, I was, spending time studying for the DAT.
No, I think that's really good, because here's what I really want to bring out from this whole gap year thing. And Dr. Kofi, maybe you can comment on this. What I want to bring out is that she took a gap year, but it wasn't an idle rest.
Exactly.
It was a gap year where she took steps to keep helping her towards her goal.
Right.
I mean, I don't know about you. Do you hear people saying they taking a gap year sometimes? And no disrespect, but they working. They working at a place where it's not helping them reach their goals.
Exactly.
They're not studying for the next test. They're not doing anything that's going to get them to the next step. Right. And so, I mean, what do you think about that?
I always say this, man. You always need to have a plan. And I don't know if it's just us New Yorkers, because, I took a gap year myself as well. But when I took the gap year, that's why I landed a major job. And what I'm saying? Something towards helping my career, seeing what the corporate world is like, if I ever want to work as a, corporate lawyer. So it's really key in your gap years as you're transitioning. You're doing something that is in line with your, your major. Because, and I'll just say this real quick, man. A lot of times I'll see a lot of students, they take, for the summers, they come back home. They probably want to get into med school. They're working at Kroger's. They're working at Walmart. They're working at the bodega. I'm like, yo, you trying to get into med school?
Right. Unless you're doing some rigorous study for the MCAT.
Exactly.
That's the only time I can give you a pass.
Right. And no shade to those that work at their bodegas, man. Y'all held me down for 8 summers.
And, same thing with me. When I finished bachelor's, I took a year off before I went for my master's.
Right.
But I took that year off and I passed it.
Exactly.
In order to get some real world
experience.
Yeah, first got it. So anyway, so Dr. Owusu, now you get into dentistry school, and you do so at another HBCU, Howard University. Right. But getting there, how did you feel like God was leading you there?
So getting into dental school was really not an easy task. Like, you have to really be motivated, because it's just as competitive as you going to any professional school at this point. Very competitive. So the story of me getting into Howard it was kind of, it's an inspirational story. But so I had gone through the gap year. I had done what I needed to do to give myself a good application. I've submitted it, and now I'm just waiting. So the waiting begins, and then I start getting a lot of rejection. And I had worked enough to apply to many schools. So I applied, I think I applied to 10 or 12 schools. And I just want to throw that out there, that if you're applying, don't limit yourself to like 2 to 3 schools. Always apply to, if you have the money, to apply to more schools, because it gives you a higher chance of getting in if you, throw a wider cast. So I basically was getting a lot of rejections, and I was getting a little bit worried, because I'm like, it's almost summertime and I still haven't gotten any responses. So I went into what is old and faithful and works for my family, fasting and prayer.
Her family believes in fasting and prayers.
It really works. So I was praying. I spent a day, I remember it was a Wednesday. I was praying all day, fasting and prayer. And it was around maybe 5 or 6 o'clock. And I called my dad and I said, "Oh, Daddy, when you're going to prayer meeting," because he goes to prayer meeting religiously, said, so when you go to prayer meeting, make sure to come pick me up. Don't go without me. So he said, okay. We got off the phone, and within about 5 minutes, I received an email, and the email said, "Congratulations, we're inviting you to a interview at Howard University." Wow. And I was so excited. I couldn't even contain myself. I started crying.
Wow. Hey, I know everyone's not feeling him. Yeah. But R. Kelly sang a song one day.
Are you going to talk about R. Kelly?
Hey, man, I don't care right now. R. Kelly said, "Prayer changes things."
That's right.
That's what R. Kelly said.
Out of all the things he's done in the world.
He said, "Prayer changes things." I'll take that song, man. He said, "Prayer changes things." Thank you so much, Dr. Owusu. We appreciate that.
sure.
You know, Dr. Ampasa, you've been so patiently waiting, and I know you can't wait to tell your story, and we can't wait to hear it. And so, you know, let's start off this way. First and foremost, you are a clinical psychologist. Okay, so you have to break that down because we had no one in the Hoodlyfe cohort that is a clinical psychologist. So first and foremost, talk to us about what that is about. And talk to us about what you actually do with it on a day-to-day basis. Do you just like read people's minds? Do you just get the latest gossip? Is that what you do? Is it, you know, what do you guys
The
really
gossip
do?
ain't bad, man.
Hey, we ain't Wendy Williams though. But anyway, continue.
No, I mean, that is definitely the stereotype of what we do, reading minds, you know, just listening to gossip all day. But no, what I do, or what clinical psychology is basically is the study and the learning of taking the clinical practice and also scientific knowledge to understand and treat mental illness. We deal with treating mental illness, prevention, and other psychologically related diseases to promote well-being, really is what we do. And specific to clinical psychology and what makes us different from a mental health therapist. By the way, it's World Mental Health Day, so it's so fortunate to be talking about this today. But what we do is treat individuals, and then what clinical psychologists do specifically, is we do psychological testing. So what that means is that I do, and clinical psychologists in general, do a lot of testing to diagnose individuals, whether it be with a personality disorder. So sometimes I'm diagnosing people with borderline personality disorder or narcissism, or schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, a lot of DSM diagnoses, or the other stuff like autism. We definitely are the ones who diagnose Alzheimer's disease, dementia. So we go across the age span with testing, evaluations, diagnosis, and treatment, as well as doing day-to-day therapy.
Okay, so help me out here. I'm still not catching the clear difference between what you do and something like, what a psychologist would do or a psychiatrist would do. Can you kind of like make that really clear? You know, those are a whole lot of terms that are always out there. Can you just make it really like, so do you prescribe medication or do you, so can you help me with that?
No, so as a clinical psychologist, we do have a doctorate degree, but again, it's either a PhD or a PsyD, which is a doctorate of psychological practice or whatever, something similar to that. But what a psychiatrist is they are medical doctors who prescribe medication. They are not doing therapy. They are not treating you using talk therapy, but they're primarily giving and prescribing medication. Okay. What we do is therapy, but I do not prescribe medication. No.
So explain the clinical part. Maybe it's the clinical part that I really wanted to really catch. So what's the difference between saying I'm a clinical, psychologist and I'm just a psychologist? That's maybe what I was driving at.
Right. So as a psychologist, usually there's something that goes before it. So either I'm a clinical psychologist, you have social psychologist, physiological psychologist, child psychologist. So it just talks about your specialty. When we talk about clinical psychology, that just means that I deal with serious mental illness. I can also deal with other types of mental illness, but primarily serious mental illness. So I'm trained to deal with, I think Dr. Sarfo was saying a couple of days ago, like he deals with schizophrenia or forensic kind of cases. Those are the kind of stuff that we do compared to other psychologists who don't do therapy at all and only do research. And maybe that's another huge difference, is that other psychologists are mainly focused on research and academic work, teaching, but we do the teaching, we do research, but I'm also definitely practicing clinical psychology by doing therapy.
This is so helpful, man.
Yeah. I didn't know all this knowledge,
this is so helpful. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Now, Dr. Ampasa, I have a hunch, right? I don't know if it's just my instinct or my gut.
I got the same hunch too, but I don't know if it's the same as yours.
I have a hunch that you didn't start off this way. I mean, you didn't start off by wanting to go into clinical psychology. And so kind of tell us where you started off with.
No, so I actually started off wanting to do something in the healthcare field. I know Dr. Owosu just said that too, but I wanted to do something in the health field. My mom is a doctor. A lot of family members are in the health field. So I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. My mom was a biochemistry major. I liked chemistry. So I said, I'm going to be a biochemistry major as well. Maybe go to medical school. So I was a biochemistry major, my mom was, and so that was what kind of like my family was doing. My brothers, actually all three of my brothers were also biochem majors. We all thought that was what we wanted to do. So I was like, okay, this is something that I'm gonna do. I wanna go into medicine. And then I get to my second year and I was like, you know what? After OChem, I was like, I don't really wanna do this. And like, what am I gonna do if I don't become a doctor with a biochem degree? My dad had always said, you know, whatever you do, you need to go all the way. And so I was like, man, I'm gonna have to get a doctorate in chemistry. Like, I don't wanna do that. I don't wanna do that at all. All the while, I'd actually been taking psychology courses to fill up the rest of my schedule. And, you know, looking back and reflecting back, I know I was talking to you earlier, but the beginnings of wanting to be a therapist actually started in high school when I was asked to be a peer mediator. During my junior and senior year of high school, I was a peer mediator, which meant that if they didn't want to suspend my peers at the time, other high school students, they'd call in someone like me as one of their peers to talk to them about different ways to manage their stress and anger so they would complete school and not get suspended or expelled. So I had that kind of in the background of what I was doing. And then I got to college and I became an RA. And so becoming an RA is what really told me, man, I really like talking to people. I really want to understand how to help people when they are suffering. I mean, and now I know like pain is inevitable. Everyone experiences pain, but suffering is optional. And so how can we help people reduce their suffering? Now, that's not what I was thinking. I can put words to that now, hindsight 2020, but I think that's the beginnings of when I realized, man, I think psychology might be for me. Plus, I was taking psychology courses. I was an academic coach, which meant that college students who had Asperger's or autism, but were in college, they kind of needed a little extra help socially. I was an academic coach. I was doing all of this while as a chem major. So finally, long story short, I ended up making the switch to psychology. Wow. During my junior year.
Wow, I see. Wow, in your junior year, were you still able to graduate in 4 years, or you took some extra time then?
That was the big thing. Is like I was not going to. So, contrary to popular belief, I don't really like school. So the idea of me taking an extra year was just not going to happen. I was like, man, if I can't graduate in 4 years, I'm actually not going to switch majors. Like, forget it. I'll just finish this biochem degree, go and get my doctorate in chemistry, and figure it out after that. So I just really did not want to take extra time, but you know, the Lord really orchestrated things starting from my first year, that I had just taken all these psychology courses without knowing. Wow. And ended up being able to graduate on time when I was supposed to.
Wow, that's amazing. So let me ask this one question. The question I want to ask you really is, you know, this is not an often promoted field in the Ghanaian community, right? And
not at all.
And I probably have a strong hunch that, you know, perhaps some people in the Ghanaian community, you know, said that, you know, you shouldn't go this direction. But here's my question to you. You know, my question to you is, you know, if someone also wants to become a clinical psychologist, you know, how would that person know that, you know, this is for me? So as you look back on your story, you know, how, you know, can you pull out at least 3 things? And if a person, let's say, has these 3 things or these 3 experiences or something of that nature, you know, clinical psychology is an area that they should explore.
I believe that clinical psychology is an area for someone to explore if they are passionate about working and helping others in a way outside of medicine. I feel like medicine, dentistry, that's a different type of help than what we do. I feel like we do a lot more talking, similar to pastors, I guess, in that way. Just
talk a lot.
We're just like wanting to help individuals by talking with them, helping them reduce their suffering. If you feel like that's something that you're interested in doing, then I would do that. If you're just interested in human behavior, why people do what they do, why people think the way they think, and why they operate in that way, then I think that's something to explore. Then you want to explore clinical psychology. And maybe lastly, you should explore clinical psychology if you are someone who can tolerate sitting with people when they're struggling. It takes a certain kind of person. It takes a certain kind of person to be able to sit with someone day in and day out, people from all walks of life who have major struggles, and be able to handle it. Like I know a lot of people who are like, no way, I could never do what you do. And so I think it takes a certain kind of person, a certain kind of personality to be able to sit with people who are suffering.
You know, That's a unique point. You know, I wanted to do psychology back in
For
the
real?
day.
I never knew that.
It crossed my mind. You know, back in high school, they gave us college courses.
Oh, for real?
But I was like, man, she said something right now. I have to sit down, listen. Cause you know, some people come with some strange stuff.
Yeah, sounds strange. Sounds strange.
When I went up to Wild Wild, people would cry when their dog dies. I'm like, yo,
hey, relax, man. Hey, I ain't gonna say no more.
I was like, yo, are you serious?
That's very emotional for some people, man. That's very emotional.
But you know, I think coming from New York, I just wasn't used to that kind of. You know, obviously today's a lot different because I'm in the business of making people happy. Right. But you know, definitely taking on that path, I definitely think.
But you know, it's true. But there are some people who are listening to us right now, and it's like, no, they love listening to people. They love hearing stories. They love drawing things out of folks. And Dr. Amposa has really given some good advice here. If you feel like this is something that you're passionate about, explore this field. Well, Dr. Wusu, let's get back to you real quick. You know, you have a story, boy, and you know, we really want to get into it. You know, dental school was not easy for you, and you had your series of challenges over there. I mean, at one point, you were driving, I don't know if it was on the highway, but you were driving in the cold with a shattered window. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
You gotta unmute yourself.
I think you have to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I'm back.
We didn't hear a word you said, so yeah, talk to us.
Okay, well, what I was saying was that dental school is very stressful. So just imagine you have an exam that's coming up and you have to go study for it. So me and one of my classmates, we were gonna study at her apartment. She has an area where we can go study. And before that, we were gonna go get something to eat. So I left my my bag in the car. Don't ever do that. Ever, FYI, whoever's listening, never leave your bag in your car. I took my debit card out of my wallet and put the wallet back in my bag. Another mistake that I made. And we went to go get food. And when I came back, my car window was completely shattered. There was actually blood dripping from the window. I guess the person used his or her hand to shatter the window to get into the car. And it was just so sad because literally everything was in the car. My laptop, my wallet, just everything I needed to be a student was in that car. And it was a very traumatic experience for me because I had an exam. I don't have no money to fix these things. It was just very tragic. So,
yeah. And my question to you is that what you know at that moment, what didn't make you pick up the phone and call, you know, mom and dad and say, I quit, come pick me up right now?
I mean, you have to just keep on going on. I was gonna say, well, Nipsey Hussle, like, what's the thing he says? The marathon must continue. Right. I had to keep going. I had the test the next day. I can't just quit. I have to, because the goal is for me to become a dentist, and that's what's most important to me. If I have to do it with 50 cents, then that's how I have to do it. So honestly, at that moment, there wasn't no, oh, mommy and daddy, come get me out of here. And I learned that kind of behavior from early on, like from boarding school and high school. There was no mommy, daddy, come and get me from then. So that has already been like a part of me, being independent and just being a go-getter from
you know, and also in the book you write about financial challenges as well. So your car gets broken into, financial challenges as well. You know, I mean, how did you deal with all of that?
I mean, you break down, you have your moment, you cry, and you just vent. And the good thing is that I have people around me that I can vent to. So I can vent, and then I pray about it, and then I just keep on pushing on. That was the best way I could do it. And then a lot of times it'll be moments where it's just a drought in my account, but then a blessing will come through. And then another thing is the dental hygiene that I did was, you know, a blessing for me, because whenever I felt like I was low on money, if we had a short break in school, I would go and work. And dental hygiene is a good enough job to give you enough money just from working one day. You could get enough money to at least hold you over. So that was one thing that I can really say helped me.
And you know what? From that story right there, I always teach people what I call the Joseph principle.
Right.
Now, this is for free. Y'all should be really paying me for this Joseph principle, but it's all right. You know, the Joseph principle says this. Use your years of prosperity or use your years of plentiful in order to create your safety net for your years of drought.
Exactly.
Joseph, remember, there were 7 years in Egypt. For those who don't have a biblical background, there were 7 years in Egypt where there was a lot of grain. Right. Joseph said, let's stock up. Then there were 7 years in Egypt where there was a lot of famine. He said, let's stock up because the famine is going to come. And when the famine comes, we'll be able to use that supply during that time. And so he stocked up during his years of plentiful so that he can have a safety net during his years of drought. And that's what I kind of hear over there. You know, you use that time as a dental hygienist, you know, you stocked up a little bit, and not just stocking up in terms of finances, but also stocking up in terms of mentality, so that you would be able to, you know, when the drought hits your account, you know what I'm saying? You were able to keep running that marathon. And so
my dad always says, sow in tears and reap in happiness. So that's kind of like what he would tell me every time.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, you know, Dr. Kofi, do you ever get stressed?
You know, that's a great question. You know, for me, I was like, I never get stressed, man.
Nah,
I'm a machine.
how can your beard looking like that, man? It's looking like a stress hole right there, man.
Well, you know, once I started legal life, man, they've been working me to death.
The truth is, Dr. Mpong said you kind of had some struggles with stress while you were in school. And tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, for someone who now treats people who have a significant amount of stress, I myself can get stressed pretty easily. And for me, when I get stressed, I actually get pretty sick. And it can get pretty bad. And the first time I realized that that was something that affected me was in college. During my last year, I was taking my GRE to try and get into grad school. I was in the middle of applying for grad school. I was in a lot of extracurricular activities and then finishing up on my courses. There was so much going on. And I actually, the first time, got really, really sick, to the point where I had to fly home to see my doctors and come back and just continue and take the GRE and then be sick and then come back. And so I let it go. And then, you know, during grad school, almost every year I'd get really sick around finals, but I didn't connect it with stress at all at the time. I was like, oh, it's, you know, winter, I'm getting sick. Oh, it's cold, but it's supposed to be hot, I'm getting sick. You know, so I'd blame it on different stuff until my third year when it got pretty bad. And my dad, you know, we're talking, Dr. Rose is talking about like not calling her parents. I definitely call my parents, be like, I'm super sick. I don't know what to do. And my dad had to drive to come take me to the hospital and then take me back because I had finals. I had a 15-page paper to write because that's what we do all the time. You know, I had to go to clinicals. There was so much happening. And then later on, I realized my doctor's like, when you get stressed, this is what's happening, actually. And if you keep doing it, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a huge problem. So you have to take care of this now. And then she was also kind of making fun of me because she's, pardon?
So how did you start to overcome it? How did you start to, you know, work with that stress?
Yeah, so prioritizing became huge. I learned in graduate school, you can't read everything your teachers want you to read. You have to pick and choose what's most important for you to learn and to study, but you cannot do everything. I also had to stop spreading my time so thin. So I thought I could do everything because I thought, you know, oh, I'm Melody, Wonder Woman, I can do it. No, pick a few things that you can do and do it well, as opposed to trying to do everything and not doing a good job with it. And then also, I learned that I need an outlet. So I can't just be doing school all the time. And so for me, you know, after I got sick during my third year, I decided that it was time to start exercising and working out and just taking out my stress in a different kind of way.
Wow, no, that makes a lot of sense. I really appreciate that. Well, we're getting close to our closing time. It's so sad. I feel like we haven't even.
It's our finale though, man. It's our finale.
So how many minutes should we go over?
So we're gonna go over about 15 minutes. So we have some pop questions that some people have asking about, like our
okay.
So
we're just announcing to people now. We traditionally ended at 9 o'clock each and every single time. Right. For this time, just hang with us till 9:15 or 9:10. Let's say 9:10.
9:10.
Okay, around 9:10 or so. 9:10, no later than 9:15, and we'll be finished with tonight. Right. All right. Sounds good. And so, no, thank you so much for sharing those tips. And I bet that someone who's out there listening is saying, ooh, okay, I struggle a lot with stress. I get these physical reactions with stress. And I'm going to make sure I definitely incorporate this into my life. So really quick, Dr. Mponsa, start to talk to us about some of your secrets of success. You know, one of your biggest secrets of success is that you believe that honoring the Sabbath was a big key to your success. Talk to us about that, because that was totally unique in the book. And so talk to us.
Yes, well, I have to credit that to my mom, my parents, both my mom and my dad. From when we were young, my parents were like, you need to honor the Sabbath. You got to put the books away. I don't care how many AP classes you're doing. I don't care, you know, all the extracurriculars. I don't really care that you don't have time. This is the Sabbath and this is the day that the Lord has made. You know, I was going to go into all of that. But, you know, it's really important to honor the Sabbath, and you're not going to lose anything. You will lose nothing by honoring the Sabbath, because God blesses those who honor the Sabbath. So from growing up, my parents were like, don't do it. And so that's something that me and my brothers all took. So when sundown Friday night came, the books shut. We closed the books. We put everything away. And at PUC it was easier because a lot of your other peers were doing it. But when you get to grad school and realize everyone is studying, that's when study groups are on Sabbath. People want to hang out on Friday night. So you're thinking, oh, I get to meet my classmates. I get to know people. You know, a lot of study groups happen on Sabbath, or like team kind of things. You have to work on a presentation. We want to do it Saturday afternoon. And I would be like, you know what? No, I can't. Because this is my Sabbath. I'm religious. I go to church, and it's really important to me that I don't do work on this day. And I have never, ever been punished. Punish is a poor word, but have never been held back in any way because I didn't do work on the Sabbath. And so that is something that I stress to everyone, because I think some people feel like, man, I need those extra 24 hours, but the Lord comes through for you. You know, I always say God has got your back. You know, you honor him in that way and he will return the favor. And so I have never gotten poor grades. I've never done worse or less than anyone else in my classes. I still stayed at the top of all my classes, all that with honoring the Sabbath. There's never a time, and I can say that for my brothers too, because I know that they do it, because that's something that my parents really pushed from when we were younger.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. You know, Dr. Owusu, you know, one of your biggest secrets to success was don't compare yourself with others. You know, that's huge, because we live in an Instagram generation. Where, you know, and this is what, and you know, on Instagram, we just see the highlight reels of people's lives.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And it's easy to compare yourself when you see someone succeeding. It's easy to compare yourself.
Instagram is something. Man.
It's something. And so I really want you to tell us about that secret of success, Dr. Owusu.
I mean, just like what you said, you on Instagram, you only see what the people show you. So you don't know what they went through and how they got to where they got. You don't know anything at all. You just see, you know, either their success or maybe they show you their failure. So honestly, especially with my field with dentistry and what I'm doing now currently, it's a male dominated field and very few Black people. Like the program I'm in right now at UPenn, I'm the only Black person in my program, and they haven't accepted a Black person for years. And this even interview round, there was no Black person at all. So if I kept that energy that others who I talked to about doing this field gave me, then I wouldn't have done it, because I would have been like, they're not going to accept a Black woman at that. So that's like a double negative, to be like double negative, as in like not that many people are doing it. And what are the chances that you're going to get into this, you know, Ivy League school and you're Black and then you're also a woman and then you're coming from an HBCU. So why I say don't compare yourself to others is because you don't know, you never know. And God can bless you in a way that you have no idea. So don't look at what someone else is doing. Don't look at the negative someone is going to tell you, because they don't know. And everyone's situation is different. So never compare yourself to others. And just because someone else failed, that doesn't mean that you're going to fail. You may do it better.
Right. Yeah. Well, you said you got some pop questions, man.
Yeah. So let's go into the comments and see what's going on there. But ladies and gentlemen, as we've said, this is your time to call in. You can ask Dr. Owusu Frimpong or Dr. Mponsa any question that you have regarding their career or just success, period. But we want to get to some pop questions, some questions that people submitted to us, and we want to ask them to you also. We'll start off with Dr. Owusu Frimpong, and then you can, and then we'll also go to Dr. Mponsa for her feedback. So just like quick, 30 seconds answer or response to these. So number one, should parents have any inputs in their children's career choices? Dr. Wusterfrimpong, 30 seconds.
In my experience, they definitely should, because, and it doesn't have to be like dictating exactly what you're doing, but I think that they need to be involved in, you know, the decisions that you're making, because they're wise, regardless of it being a different time or ever they grew up in. They're wise beyond their years, and they kind of know, you know, what's good. Like for me, I wouldn't have done dental hygiene if my parents didn't tell me, you know, you should do something that will give you a job at least when you're done. For my sister, they kind of encouraged her to do nursing, even though she took, you know, the legal route with being a lawyer. But if she didn't do that route, she would have, you know, probably been confused, you know, post-graduation. So I think your parents definitely should have a say in the route that you do take, and you should involve your parents in, you know, your education.
Okay, great. Now, Dr. Mponsa, this question is for you. Just about 30 seconds, if you could hit it for me. Should you ever be in a relationship during your academic journey? Dr. Mponsa, what's your take on that?
Yes, I think that you can be in a relationship during your academic journey. You just have to make sure that
girlfriend.
Pardon?
This is boyfriend, girlfriend. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, yeah, I do think that it's okay to be in a relationship during your academic journey. You just have to really know yourself and know that do I have enough time, and can I prioritize my time to get my work done and to focus on another person? Sometimes a lot of people recommend that you don't get into a relationship during your first year. Figure out how it goes, and then during the next year, then it's possible. But I feel like, you know, it takes you knowing yourself, but I think it's possible. Yeah.
It's possible. Okay. And then the final question, this one will go to Dr. Wusterfrimpong, or any of you can take it. Should you pick a major where you're going to get guaranteed high income after you're done?
Should you pick repeat that?
Should you pick a major which is going to get you guaranteed high income once you graduate?
Well, I don't think that you should pick a major based on the income. The income is a plus, but you have to remember that you have to wake up every day to go and do this job. So I don't think you should pick a major based on income. But if it's a stepping stone to, you know, what you ultimately want to do, then I agree. But if it's just merely because of high income, then no. It has to make sense. Whatever you do has to make sense.
Okay. And Dr. Mponsa? No, go ahead. Dr. Mponsa, your take on it, just 30 seconds.
Yeah, I don't think that you should pick a major based off of income, because if I did that, I wouldn't have done psychology. Because if you stop at a bachelor's degree in psychology, you're not going to have a high income, you know? So I think that there's many majors where you're not going to have a high income anyways. You have to keep going in order to eventually get there.
Absolutely. Sounds good. I actually have one question that also came in as well. I'm reading it here on my phone. One person said that, I noticed that both of you went to Christian schools or Adventist schools. Would you recommend that someone should also do that as well? That we should also do that as well?
I wholeheartedly recommend, if you can, to go to a Seventh-day Adventist education. Like me and Kojo were talking earlier, and it was kind of like going to Oakwood University kind of shaped my spiritual life, because you see people just like you excited to go to church, and church service is a different experience. So being in that environment where all my peers were all excited and we were all doing the same thing, and we all wanted to rush to go to AY on Friday night, I think it kind of shaped my spiritual life, because now you cannot tell me that on Saturday I'm not going to go to church. This is something that I would do on my own just because of the experience I had at a Seventh-day Adventist education.
Awesome. Dr. Mponsa, you want to take a crack at it, or are you all right?
Yes, I completely agree with her. I think that I would definitely recommend an Adventist school or a Christian school in general, because they'll give you the foundation that you need if you go to a school that isn't a Christian school, that you'll have what she's talking about having a solid spiritual life, making good Christian friends. And then also they're preparing you not only, I think at a Christian school, not only are you being prepared for your academic career and your career in general, but you're also being prepared spiritually in a certain kind of way. And so I definitely recommend going to a Christian school, and even an Adventist school, even better, because of course we went to Adventist school. So.
Well, you know, man, I'm having such a good time, and I feel like I have 1,000 more questions for that. But they say all the good things must come to the end, right? And so as we come to our end, I want the both of you to take a crack at this. What are your plans afterwards? Where are the spaces for improvements in your career that you see yourself going in? And are there any projects that you are passionate about pursuing now that you have the doctor?
Malavi, you gonna go first?
Sure. So I currently work at a hospital, of course, for treating severe mental illness and other psychologically related diseases. So I want to keep doing that. But I also definitely want to get into teaching at a university level. And so those are definitely in my future plans to become a professor. And then also I know my dad is listening and he wants me to open a private practice and write a book so badly. So yes, Dad, it's coming eventually. I will hopefully open a private practice and write a book. And then I was in Ghana a couple of weeks ago, and I was just talking to a couple of people about therapy and counseling and what that looks like out there, and there's not much going on. So I would love to do some mission work, but I'm not even sure how that looks like for a clinical psychologist. So
mission-driven purpose. That's our organization. Come with our org, we'll find a place for you. Hey, really quick, before Dr. Owusu answers, I'm on my big health journey this year. Do you know that while she was in grad school, she lost 112 pounds?
I know. I wish we could have the before and after, man.
Congrats.
Yep.
To that.
Thank you.
What did you do? Eat grass every day in Loma?
No, just working out and trying to eat better, seriously. And it's been so good for me, but it's taken a lot of dedication.
Yeah, no, I imagine.
And perseverance, yeah.
Every time, everyone's weight loss story is the same. Eat right, work out, sleep, drink water. And you know what I learned? In life, it's all about the basics.
It's all about the basics.
Dr. Owusu, plans afterwards?
I mean, right now I'm in residency, so periodontics. So my plan ultimately is afterwards, I'm gonna work.
Hold on. You can't just say periodontics and think the whole world understand what that means. Yeah, break that down real quick.
So a periodontist is someone who takes care of the structures protecting your teeth. So your gums, your bones, any of the tissues that's supporting your teeth, we're the ones that take care of it. We're specialists at that. So if you need an implant, we can help you because you have a missing tooth. If you need any type of gum surgery, we can, take care of that. So ultimately, what I want to do is use that specialty to eventually open a practice. I do want to work, in other established offices just so I could get the business side of it. Because like I said, I always wanted to do something business oriented. So that's still going to be there. Definitely going to open, my own practice. And I actually share the same interest as Malavi. I do have a passion to teach, but that may be way down the line, when my hands don't work anymore. Oh
man, sounds good. Teaching. People always told me when I was in school that I would go into teaching.
Right. You're great. Well, you taught at Oakwood, so.
I mean, I don't know if that's the life, but they're inspiring me. I'll say that. Hey, any shout outs, y'all? Someone you want to holler at and just say thank you throughout the course of your journey. You can start with Dr. Owusu.
Oh, well, definitely my sisters. Shout out to my sisters, Priscilla and Dorcas. My parents, shout out to them because they're basically my backbone. And then shout out to my boyfriend as well. Good support system. So yeah.
Excellent. And what about you, Dr. Mponsa?
I'd like to shout out first and foremost my parents, because without my parents, I would not be here. They've been supportive since the beginning. I'd like to shout out my brothers, Daniel, Manoa, and Kwame, for their support as well. And then the All Nations African SDA Church, which I attend, and they've been my backbone since I was born till today. I am so grateful for their support. And then, of course, my best friend, Dean, John, Josh, again, I could go on and on. But I have so many good friends, and so thank you, everyone.
Hey, they're not trying to shout us out, though, man. Like, what's up, man? Come on. I'm joking. Don't worry. Thank you. No, I all the people you shouted at, I know they definitely appreciate it. Well, we're about to close. Before we do a couple of things. First, number one, these people have a wealth of knowledge and experience. At this moment, what we want you to do is take action. You have a lot of people in this world who hear information but take no action. Take action. Go into the link, and if you would want to get coached by them, Go in there and sign up for the coaching program. Dr. Amponsa is giving you a $100 scholarship. Dr. Owusu is giving you a $100 scholarship. Dr. Kofi is giving you a $100 scholarship.
No, I haven't given the scholarship.
Oh, okay. Then I'm giving the scholarship today, $100 scholarship. And so it's for $49.99, and that's for you. It's only a one-time offer. After this week, it's no more. And so that's the first thing. The second thing as well is that if you would like a free copy of volume 4 of the book, if you want a free copy of volume 4 of the book called The Top 25, put your email in the link, or go to the link and put your email in as well. You get a free copy, because after this week, you will not be able to do so. All those books will be at a price on Amazon. And so you want to make sure you get a free copy before it's priced. And so that's the next thing over there. And then finally, last but not least, also, let me also give you also a recommendation as well. A reason why you should sign up for the coaching program. Dr. Amponsa looks at personal statements for people who are trying to get into grad school. You see, so that's what people are asking, why should I pay? Why should I pay? Because they're going to be doing those kind of things. You know, they're going to be walking you through things.
And shout out to those who have already purchased.
And purchased it already. And so that's the next thing that's out there as well. Last thing, share this with people because they need to hear this information. Dr. Kofi, do you have any final things to say before we close out the Hoodlyfe once and for all, man?
Sure. You said it all. So, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who have been with us from day one, night one, I want to definitely thank you all so much. I want to thank the doctors who really came out and really took ownership of this show and told this story, gave some really great anecdotes.
Actually, let's say their names. You know, thanks to Dr. Dr. Sam Square. You know, the both of them.
Both of them.
Yeah. Like I say thank you to Dr. Natasha Osei and also Dr. Abigail Niantechi.
That's right.
I'd like to say thank you to Dr. Beryl Archer and Dr. Kojo.
That's right.
Definitely a big thank you to Dr. Patience Champong and also to Dr. Acham Mubadu. And definitely say a big thank you to Dr. Melibi Amponsa and also Dr. Salome Owusu from Palm. Big thank you.
Thank you all for being a part of this. And for those who tuned in, we want to thank you all so much. Make sure you replay these, buy those coaching programs. And until the next time.
Until the next time. Well, let's give a shout out. You know, I give a shout out to my parents who have been so supportive in this process, and just everyone else who has really encouraged us to move forward with the Hoodlyfe. I think we've learned so much. We've gained so much knowledge. We've been exposed to so many stories. And I think that for those who have followed for these past 5 days, you've come out as a better person.
Right. And maybe reinstate something that was said here. You know, our focus on the doctors. We said in the beginning, but maybe if you want to capture that in the end as well. So someone gave a comment here. I don't know if you see that.
Person said, doctors, you may fail to capture the Steve Jobs and the Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know what that means.
I don't know if you want to give a sermon, Pastor.
I don't know what that means. But
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I mean, they could call it. But here's the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that we're all better people in listening to these stories. And so viewers, thank you so much for being with us for these past 5 days. God bless you so much and take all the best on your journey. Take care.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.